we are big believers that people should definitely be reading their Bible themselves, studying it on their own, enjoying their relationship with the Lord on their own. They don't need anybody to do that for them, with them, or anything to that effect, And if we're not encouraging that, or if a church isn't encouraging that, I think that's a hard thing to sell out to, because nobody's just going to go and hear from one person all the time.
Hello, everyone. We are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week, we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world.
All right, welcome back. Here we are, hanging out, babe, in the studio, doing our podcasting.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Usually we do podcasting says, in the
good
morning.
Good morning. Our little one says, I know. We normally podcast in the morning. I was thinking about this recently.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different routine. And typically for us, we do it in the morning. We enjoy kind of starting our talk, starting to, communicate about all things that matter most to us, right?
Mm-hmm. It's true. Mm-hmm. So here we are. We would almost call it spring right now, even though it's, for us at this time, it's January. I don't know when you'll be hearing this, but and it's still like 40s and 50s out and green grass. We haven't had one snowfall yet.
I know. Well, yeah. Again, we live in Boise, Idaho, and so, which is really unique for us. So we've only been here 2 winters now. Is that right? 2 winters, maybe 3 now that I think about it. I think so. Our first winter here was a little more snowy. The second one, a tiny bit. We're on our third, and it's getting less snowy by the year. And I don't know. Greg and I grew up in the Midwest. We had enough snow to last us 3 lives, I think, at this point.
That's probably true.
And we purposely decided a couple of years ago to, purchase a home so in the winter we could go stay somewhere warm. Mm-hmm. And then we decided to go on this adventure to Boise, Idaho. And so, we rented that house out that we had in Florida so that we could stay full-time here, mainly because in this season, our kids are in so many sports, we can't even leave for more than 2 days.
Yeah.
At this point. Like, we used to go down for 4, 5, 6 months, and now we can't get away in any season for more than 2 days.
Yeah.
Because they play sports all year round.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is.
And it's a window of time.
And so we're embracing it. But in the same sense, I am so thankful that the weather has not been overly cold and snowy, because it was our dream not to have snow.
Yeah. It's a blessing. You think about Idaho when you don't live here and you think, gosh, that must be like twice as much snow as the Midwest.
I don't know why we thought that.
I mean, it kind of is, depending on where you're at, right? Like if you're in the mountains in Idaho, then it is, because of elevation, but we're not. So It's perfect.
Right. When we first decided to move here, we didn't really even know where Idaho was.
No, we didn't.
It just wasn't the areas we studied.
So one of the next holidays coming up is St. Patrick's Day. So I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Why is it bad to iron a 4-leaf clover?
Something about it getting wrinkled.
Because you should never press your luck.
I find this interesting. We're skipping right over the next one, which is Valentine's Day. Do you have any?
I could find some. Right.
I want to hit on Valentine's Day.
What did one hat say to the other?
I have no idea.
Wait here. I'm going on ahead.
Let's go back to the Valentine's ones.
Hey, what is a fancy fish called?
I don't know.
Sophisticated. They're great.
They're not that great.
They're fantastic. We could do them all day. Oh, I got one more. Okay, real quick. I just saw. What happened to the frog that parked illegally?
I don't know.
It got towed.
That was kind of corny and funny.
All right, so today, let's talk a little bit about some of our goal setting. We've had some people ask us some questions on this, and so I thought we would go into a little bit of detail. about what we've done. I mean, we always pressing people to do goal setting in November and December, which is great, and we did. But now I thought, it's probably it probably offers value to people if they hear like specifically how we've done what we've done and what our goals actually are. We won't give everything specific, but at least you get the format of how this works. And the first thing that we end up doing when we have this process is we usually talk to our family about almost like a way to recap the year we just went through, which is great. It's we have a series of questions that we ask, and maybe we'll do that sometime on one of these podcasts.
Yeah, we should bring the kids in to do that because that's always fun.
Yeah, we could, and maybe next time even. And so, but one of the things that we do just like to discuss is, okay, so from the last year, what were some of our big wins? And we like to talk about them as a family. We like to talk about them and individually, because what we have found is when you actually do this, you're a little bit surprised at how many things you actually did accomplish. Because, once you're chasing or pursuing something, you accomplish it, and then you celebrate for it one day, and then you move on, and then you're doing another thing. And before you know it, you've done like 15 things like this.
I know.
And you almost forget. Like, I mean, when we started talking about some of ours as a family, I was surprised. Their kids were saying, oh, yeah, we went to Hawaii. And oh, yeah, we went to Alaska. And oh, yeah, we did this and we did this. And it's like, that's right. That all was within the last 12 months.
I know.
It's pretty wild. So
a lot of good memories.
Yep. It was great. So a few of these, when we pressed our kids on these, for Abby, who is 16, a couple big wins for her was getting on the worship team, which was cool because I think about that. I'm like, gosh, really? That was within the last year? I feel like she's been up there for, ever.
Yeah. And actually for her, I don't know if we talked about it before. We might have. I can't really remember. But, at first, both her and Chrissy were nervous. I wouldn't say they were fighting doing it. They were just kind of standoffish. They wanted to do it. Everything in them wanted to do it, but they were nervous. They wanted to make sure they did well up there. They wanted to perform well, and they didn't want to embarrass themselves or anything like that. And for them personally, they worked very, very hard. And yes, I think it was January or February of 2025, they went on by themselves, solo, no assistance from anybody else. And it was a big win. Abby absolutely has thrived up there. She's really starting to get her groove with it too.
Yeah, she is. I mean, her and Chrissy right now are like, they're the ones they want up there every week.
I know, they do so well.
Because they do so great. Plus also, they just look so cute up there. You know what I mean?
Well, we're partial, but yes.
But I mean, I don't know. There's something to me about seeing youth in church, like actually participating and serving and performing. It just, I don't know. To me, it speaks to the health of the community if it's healthy enough where kids want to be participating fully.
That's interesting you said that because I had an opportunity yesterday. I went to morning prayer for ladies, and I got to meet a new woman that is new to our church, probably within the last month. Her and her husband have decided to come to our church. It really just started because he originally went to a men's prayer morning.
Yeah.
He loved it, and then started signing up for like Emerge coming up with is a men's leadership event coming up. And then together as a family, they've decided to come back to church. And she said, one of the things is I grew up in church. My husband did not. But the church we were at just wasn't for us anymore. Numerous reasons. Doesn't really matter. It wasn't for them and their family anymore. She said, but I think it's a 5.5 or 6-year-old right now. And I really want to know how do you suggest, I keep my daughter in the church though. I don't want her to,
great question,
go away from the church. Because although the season for the church I grew up in, it did keep me in church for a long time. Yeah. And then I started looking for another church that was best for my family. And I don't ever want to leave the church, is what she said. I said, I got to say, that is the best question in the world because, we can relate. Originally Greg and I, we've always attended church with our kids. We just didn't have a church that we would call home for a long time. Like we tried dating around different churches and finding something, I would say, right?
Yeah.
And never found the one that was best for us or fitted for our family or the dynamics or the leadership or whatever it may be. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Not bad churches, just not our church.
Yeah.
And so we moved out to Boise, Idaho for a church that we believe in strongly for our family. And I told her one of the things that has been so neat for our family is getting our kids involved to serve. I go, at this point, I will tell you, we have 3 now on either doing praise and worship team or stage managing or something like that. Greg and I are involved serving. You had just went through some classes so our younger kids could start serving. But our kids, in all honesty, they want to go to church.
Yeah.
Like, they want to serve at church. They want to be around the people at church that we trust. And I said, I think it's one of the best ways to keep your kids in the church is to get them in to serve, because that way then they're invested, right? They believe in the mission.
Yeah, this is like I feel like this could be like a 3-part topic.
Sure.
And maybe we'll just do it. But, this is it's a unique subject. Here we are as parents trying to make sure we are providing proper environment for our kids.
Correct.
And it can almost be, there can almost be a little bit of an arrogance, I think, from the church community as a whole, that because we're a church, then, you should be coming to this church if you live within a vicinity. And the reality is that kind of works for some people because they don't take enough time to really actually grow spiritually enough on their own, I think. And, for you and I, even when we were, dating different churches, we were still growing, and
Correct.
it's kind of like we've just always had the philosophy that we're thankful for whatever an environment provides, and whatever they don't provide, we provide it, So if you're in a leadership group and there's a lack of a certain type of leadership, then that's okay. We'll provide that level of leadership instead of being mad about what's not there. And so we were providing a lot of spiritual growth. We were providing Bible study. We were providing, having really good conversations about the power of the cross, about the authority that's gained by being a believer in Christ, about, tough topics like healing. Is it for today or is it something from the past, or the power of your words? And what about money? What's prosperity mean? What's right? What's wrong? We were digging into all this stuff that you would normally get, I think, from a healthy church, but because when we were going to some of these other ones, they were more, I would call them seeker-friendly churches. They don't want to ruffle any feathers. They for sure never want to talk about politics. They don't want to talk about world issues going on because they don't want to offend anybody. And
yes, I think what you're saying, you're right. Seeker ones, where it's like they're seeking out the people, but not the topics of what the people actually need to grow, change, and develop into all that God fully asked of us. Because just like you said, some of those topics that you just brought up, I mean, we would go home and the kids would ask us, well, can you talk to us more from a biblical perspective about politics or about giving or about whatever the case may be, marriages or whatever.
And there's just been a lot of world stuff going on.
A lot.
In our faces. And so, it was hard for us when we were in environments that wouldn't go near those topics because the reality is, if you read the word, I mean, there's a lot of politics talked about, there's a lot of government talked about there. There's a lot talked about in praying in the Spirit. There's a lot talked about finances, a huge topic in the Bible. So when churches kind of shy away from them, then it's a little bit too much of a PC environment for me, right? And really our family. And so doesn't mean we're mad at these people, nothing like that. Doesn't mean we're judging them, nothing like that. It just means this is not our place.
Right.
And so when we found our church now, and I realized that, wow, I know what topics we talked about here because the pastor is one of my best friends, and I know what we talk about all the time.
Right.
And I know that he's not afraid to talk about modern day things. And so, my point is, I always encourage people who are really trying to grow in faith, like, you gotta have like some standards that you want for a church for you and your family, and don't get mad at the ones that don't carry them, but just keep shopping until you find them.
Right. And I think one of the keys to all that, again, is making sure that wherever it is that you're going to plant, know that they're not going to be perfect either, though.
Sure.
I mean, like,
they don't need to be perfect, but
right.
they need to be going in the same direction.
Right.
Because the last thing I want is to have our family be learning so many truths and then have their faith almost limited because of the environment that we call church, which can happen. And so I know it's a sensitive topic, but I think it's one people need to hear, because I think that because there isn't enough of this going on is the reason why people leave churches over time. because eventually they're just kind of like, this just isn't my place, but I'm like trapped in this place, quote unquote, because I feel obligated. I'm being made to feel guilty if I ever, like, I'm the problem if I want to go somewhere else. I think we all, as leaders of anything, churches, business teams, whatever, we all have responsibility to be leaders. And if we're not leaders and people want to go, they should be able to go. Right. And that puts pressure on us to actually do it right, and to actually be providing true leadership versus just a guilt control type leadership, And so anyways, good topic because, it took us a long time. And once we found an environment that we knew would support our beliefs, and they're not the ones that they're not responsible for leading our children, right, at all, for discipling our kids, but they are a great support arm for us doing it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest keys. Hence, we feel so comfortable with them serving and stuff like that because they support what we already are teaching at home and what we already are implementing. I think the other part of the whole thing is knowing that you definitely, for us, is, there's no one, what do you call it? Like, message that somebody should be giving that isn't where we can't find it in the Bible. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
Like, we are big believers that people should definitely be reading their Bible themselves, studying it on their own, enjoying their relationship with the Lord on their own. They don't need anybody to do that for them, with them, or anything to that effect, And if we're not encouraging that, or if a church isn't encouraging that, I think that's a hard thing to sell out to because nobody's just going to go and hear from one person all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Good topic.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. See you next time.